There is no doubt about it that the death of Charlie Kirk really showed people's true colors and their true emotions, and whether it's good or bad, it's really serving as a wake-up call at this point as to exactly how people are acting right now. We know that there's a lot of people out there coming together, uniting, and really talking about what happened to Charlie Kirk, but you also have a lot of terrible people out there that are celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk, saying some nasty, very offensive things out there that I don't even want to really go into right now. But what's interesting about all of this has a lot to do with the show business, right? Hollywood, the film industry, overall, and exactly what's going on with the media. There's different aspects of the media. They're playing the blame game, scapegoating, pointing the finger, terrible things going on right now. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, I think what makes this whole Charlie Kirk situation stand out is the fact that it really serves as a JFK moment for the younger crowd, for the younger audiences out there. And I think that's exactly why you're having people react in such a way, because he was a very big voice. Whether you agree with this man or not, I really, personally, wasn't really engaged into his content or his material that he was putting out there. I'd never really followed it, but I knew who he was. I knew exactly, who he was on social media. I knew his face. Everyone pretty much knew of Charlie Kirk. What's interesting here, though, has a lot to do with the fact of what the media is doing, what different, studios are doing out there, and exactly how a lot of people are getting fired for, the right reasons by saying terrible things out there, and also specific studios are getting a lot of flack for what they were about to do. Let's get into this. Now, one thing about SNL is that we know that SNL has been a very politically driven place for a very long time now. However, with many aspects of the media already playing the blame game for the death of Charlie Kirk, and also those in Hollywood and in show business, one significant development going on now involves more to do with SNL via NBC and Charlie Kirk's death, and why SNL recently got in serious trouble behind the scenes. Now, it turns out that SNL was in the process of writing, get this, and creating a bit where Charlie Kirk was going to be mocked by many members of SNL for September 20th on Saturday Night Live, where they were going to create a parody version of Charlie as a misogynist, sexist, and racist, and hitting back at transgenders on the SNL episode. It turns out that many executives from high up at NBC informed many of the writers and comics involved in the skit immediately that this, of course, episode would be called off and cancelled, already taking place after NBC got so much internal backlash from the board of directors, forcing SNL to cancel all plans related to the portrayal of Charlie Kirk on SNL. This episode was in the making for roughly 2.5 weeks. However, they were also planning to have both the parody versions of Charlie Kirk and President Trump mocking transgenders and women on the episode. Lorne Michaels was also in serious trouble after the board members demanded him to cancel plans for the episode. There was even reportedly a brief moment between, of course, not just Lorne Michaels, but also the board of directors, and how they shared a fiery exchange between Lorne and the NBC board of directors ordering the episode to be called off, and how there was a moment where Lorne Michaels wanted to still go through with the actual Charlie Kirk parody episode, regardless of his death. This is when the board wanted him, of course, to actually call it off immediately, and when the board even warned him that this would destroy SNL and create a wave of backlash that they have never seen, and even warned Lorne Michaels of legal consequences if he didn't take action immediately. In the end, Lorne Michaels was forced to call off the entire episode segment of SNL, and they are already working around the clock to rewrite the entire episode for the 20th, that they will focus away from Charlie Kirk now. There were even moments where some board members associated with NBC that still wanted to include Charlie in the actual parody version of SNL here, actually mocking Charlie Kirk by watering down the jokes. However, the majority voted to get this actually completely cancelled and restructured for the entire episode. Now, this entire episode was also planned to be overly political again and against Donald Trump, and how this was going to be used as a segue to mocking Charlie Kirk. Now, I don't know about you guys, but before I move on, let me just say this. is that SNL has become quite tiresome in the past 20-25 years. It's not what it used to be back in the 80s, heck, maybe even in the early 90s. I would definitely say once you reach the early 2000s, SNL really took a nosedive, especially in the 2010s. I mean, that's where it really hit dead water, right? That's where it lost a lot of fans. A lot of fans walked away from SNL. And not to mention, when they had Tom Hanks mocking Trump supporters, that's also where it really didn't work out well in the end. But we know one thing about Lorne Michaels, we know one thing about NBC right now, is that there is a lot of division going on over at NBC, over at SNL, because of what was about to happen on the 20th of September, what they were about to do for SNL. And I find it quite strange, the fact that there were members of the board of NBC that wanted to actually keep things going with the Charlie Kirk parody portrayal on SNL, and how they just wanted to only water it down a bit, but to keep him on there, to keep the parody version of him on there, regardless of what happened on September 10th. Disgusting. I don't care what anyone else says, that's disgusting behavior, and it's really not all that shocking coming from SNL and NBC, but at least the board of directors of NBC really called things off, forced Lorne Michaels, to really just do what they had to do, and I think at the end of the day, the internal backlash going on over at SNL and NBC, it's well deserved. I think at the end, this is something that should not even be a discussion. It shouldn't even be a conversation on whether or not they should just water it down instead of canceling it. In the end, they did cancel it though, thankfully. Moving on here, the internal backlash that SNL faced from the NBC board was so intense that they even warned many of the actors and performers for the episode that they would also be let go, fired, if they tried to show any form of resistance and support to keep the episode as planned. The internal conflicts within SNL are now said to be rising due to political differences, especially after Charlie Kirk's situation, almost similar to what happened between South Park Studios and Paramount that led to multiple episodes getting scrubbed, cancelled, or whatever have you for season 27, or getting completely restructured to shift away from mocking Charlie Kirk. It turns out that SNL was inspired by South Park to mock Charlie, and that was the origin of SNL's motive. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but earlier back we talked about how there were a total of 3 episodes by South Park that were supposed to air for season 27 featuring Charlie. Those are now being canceled. They are deleting all the footage featuring him, and they also took the second episode of season 27. They scrubbed that. They took it off for now, at least, when it comes to what's available. And whether or not it's going to remain like that, that's also a question open on the table for discussion. But again, I think that what SNL did here was truly despicable, to show the fact that you had Lorne Michaels trying to fight against the NBC board of directors from canceling this episode, from canceling all of the planned, scripts, everything that was written for the actual parody event on the 20th, to mock Charlie, to actually mock Trump, together as a duo, if you will. And it really just goes to show you how, truly terrible not just SNL is, but even NBC. I don't think that they would have scrubbed this regardless if it weren't for the whole Charlie Kirk situation. They probably would have still went forward with this. There's no doubt about that. Everything is changing right now. Things have crossed the line. You're seeing a major cultural shift happening right now. Again, like I said earlier, I think what happened to Charlie Kirk was a JFK moment for the younger audiences out there. But overall, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.